Under the sun, like souls in pain but with a firm step, the cattle walk without direction. We're in the south of Spain, and although the heat is unbearable, this is paradise, the place where those who love life dream about. A first-time mother separates from the group. She's pregnant and is going to give birth very soon. She's already feeling the pains. Her pregnancy has lasted as long as a woman's pregnancy, 9 months, and she's now breaking water. In her womb, a new inhabitant of this paradise is knocking on the door. He wants to be born, even before the eyes of an egret. He's arrived. Weighing 10 kilos and wrapped in the placenta, he appears like a gift. This is the mother, a brave 3-year-old cow from which our little fighter will inherit his name, Amoroso, or loving. This is how our young bull will be called, since he joins the troop with more will than faculties. He's just like any other bull, but this time we're going to follow his evolution closely. The cow licks him, the mother pushes him and encourages him, and he responds. A fighting bull has come into the world. One of the most powerful and symbolic animals on Earth has just been born. A man who will form part of the life of Amoroso enters the scene on horseback. This newborn must learn his first lesson just a few hours after entering the world. He's not alone in paradise. If he wants a kingdom, he'll have to earn it. For the moment, the man holds the winning cards. He has an advantage. He confirms the sex and proceeds with a routine checkup. This is the first time that anyone will touch Amoroso. His reaction is innate. The best defense is to attack. The atavistic fear maintained by the bull towards the wolves and these nice little dogs is the closest thing that our brave animal has on hand. This is how a fighting bull charges with only 23 hours of life. So much determination, such speed, such young bravery is exactly what isn't found in other bovine races and what man looks for in the bull. Today, what defends Amoroso, tomorrow will cost him his life, although he doesn't know it yet. DNA isn't the only thing that defines a fighting bull, but also his native land, his neighborhood, the scene of his elders. This animal forms part of a perfect, biologically diverse, healthy, and supportive process, which is, in short, free life. Tens of thousands of fighting bulls inhabit 1/4 of the territory that makes up the Iberian Peninsula. Cartographic poetry calls this land the bull hide, with millions of hearts beating at the same time. Amoroso grows here, like a wild hoofed animal, far away from man and surrounded by valuable fauna. His territory does not have limits and is located in one of the most remote regions of Europe. And there are few creatures that are more European than this one. The Iberian pig is another protege of the Mediterranean forest, like his friend the bull. Fully dedicated to caring for its body, today the pig is occupying the public bath of the forest. A herd of pigs is a collection of pleasant impressions. With a peculiar sense of daily hygiene, the pigs stir up the water that others must drink, like the cows of the family of Amoroso, for example. And although there's harmony among the animals, some disputes are inevitable. One must make one's way as one can, aside from the squeals of the pigs. There's no truce in the war for water, and the cows use a sharp weapon. But in the end, there's always a place for everyone, and thirst becomes the only enemy defeated. It's been exactly 2 months since Amoroso entered the world, and today is the first time that he has abandoned his mother. With another calf, he's gone to discover his own particular planet, to act crazy, to frolic, and to reveal his strength. His umbilical cord still hangs from his belly, and he's a bundle of nerves. Amoroso is pretty and curious. He appears like a fawn, but make no mistake about it, he's a fighting bull. Everything is new for these 2 calves. The air smells like rosemary, and the water is a protein soup. Our bull wants to tour his kingdom. He wants to investigate and play like any cub. Although he was born with multicolored skin, with time he will become jet black. Although he's young, he's a living totem. His stroll today is the stroll of a beginner, with one trap after another. Without knowing it, he's about to enter the territory of another very touchy mortal who just happens to be precisely in mating season. Step by step, he's getting himself into trouble. This is an aquatic bird in danger of extinction, which is identified by its red tubercle on its horny frontal shield, which is why it's called the red-knobbed coot. A bird that defends itself with courage. Amoroso is far away from his mother and terribly lost. He's in trouble and can only get away by swimming, like the bird that refuses to greet him. As we follow the steps of this wild bull, the scarcest fauna comes before our eyes spontaneously. This is an unknown, natural, and wonderful world. The red-knobbed coot, just like the fighting bull, make the spring. They give life to this rough landscape, an area that has not yet been touched by man. Amoroso is leaving. He still doesn't feel the territoriality with the same energy of the birds. For him, the field doesn't have an owner, but he still has a few things to learn. Just 1 kilometer away, a partridge is traumatized. The other adventurous calf has stopped to sniff right on top of its nest. Although bulls are herbivores, as everyone knows, even the partridges, with his hooves and his weight, he's about to crush the partridge chicks. The red partridge is just as Spanish as the bull and easily adapts to the dry terrain of this plain as well. While the partridge tries to remain unnoticed, she calls her offspring, taking advantage of the parsimony of the calf. It's time for a recount, and as a family, they disappear in the semi-desert ground of their home. They sing to get over their fear and celebrate that the calf was not a lynx. At just over 2 months, the crowning of Amoroso begins. The horns are beginning to sprout from his head. In his world, bulls are not the only ones with horns. Stags and fallow deer form part of the fashion of bone art. But the true horns are those of his lineage. They're the most feared, the most powerful, and the most lethal. In his herd of cows and bulls, they have extraordinary daggers, although the horns are different in shape. There are bien armados, or strong horns, bizcos, or non-symmetrical horns. Spanish bullfighting terminology is full of descriptive terms for types of horns: cornigachos, cubetos, capachos, zurdos, brochos. There are bulls with thin, sharp horns, and those with very excessively developed horns. Meanwhile, Amoroso, while protected by his own, does as he pleases and plays in the marsh. From this moment on, his horns will grow approximately 1 centimeter per month. But our bull, like our children, must grow well-nourished. He searches for the udder of his mother with style. He milks from each teat as if it were the last day of his life. He will only feed off his mother's milk for the first 8 months of his life. Amoroso is the shadow of Amorosa during this time, and he accompanies her everywhere. At this age, the bulls are given the very accurate name of suckers in Spanish. They obtain sufficient amounts of mineral salts and albumin from the mother's milk in order to develop in a balanced way. After filling his stomach, our bull falls deeply asleep and dreams like all the happy beings on this earth. Although he lives in a strict matriarchy, Amoroso logically has a father, which he looks like. Molinero is the most admired sire among the newborns of the area. He's the father that every calf wants to have, 658 kilos of solid muscle and testosterone. An enormous red bull of enviable structure and power, and above all, an expert in courting. When Molinero inseminated Amorosa, she was his 17th catch of the month at that time, because stud bulls live polygamy intensely. So much so that they end up exhausted and weak. That's why a set of squats between sessions of intercourse helps protect their rears and blood circulation. That's it, a bull in love and acting like it. His harem is made up of 45 cows, which he attends to 4 times a day. A very rough life for a bull that's been spared from fighting because of the qualities of his seminating seed, but that can die from too much success. Sex and feeling, and many, many kisses. An unexpectedly delicate honeymoon for one of the most grandiose species of the planet. Only a brave cow like the mother of Amoroso dares to affectionately lick the forehead of an adult bull. She's finally pregnant after 2 days of making love. Amoroso is on his way. Time passes, and he leaves his mark on the homeland of his herd. The sun absorbs the wetlands and its spells. The water cycle turns everything upside down, and the black-winged stilt takes advantage. This image reminds us of porcelain and lime. Fish proteins while toasting to the health of the sun so that a delicate beauty remains standing. The black-winged stilt. Summertime is a bad time for the bull. Death is dressed 1,000 ways in this luminous penumbra. Without going to the bull ring, the fighting bull can live up to 20 years of age, but during this time he will have to deal with some summer rushes. The prolonged drought, combined with other environmental factors, makes the life of a bull unbearable. This is a fly factory, an infected puddle in which the biomass is so dense that it can be cut with a knife. Minuscule filaments on their feet let them walk on the water like a dancer in a biblical episode. These are bullflies. In some places of Spain, they're referred to as moqui, a temporal curse that breaks out in the middle of the field at high temperatures. Millions of these small insects intimidate the fighting bull. They change his temperament, and he becomes bad-tempered and unpredictable. Like vultures over mountains of meat, the bullflies embark on the conquest of the snout, throat, horns, and back of the animal. The salty perspiration attracts the insects, who believe that the colossal anatomy of the cows and bulls is a perfect field of labor. Aside from the nuisances, some of these dipterans, like the cattle ticks, deposit their larvae on the skin of their hosts, producing infections, terrible open wounds with serious consequences. Help is needed here, and the herd of Amoroso knows where to find it. Their friends, the cattle egrets, are an intelligent relief. They're high-pressure white harpoons that just love bugs. Here we can see Molinero resting after such frenzy and allowing them to do anything they want in order to be freed from the bugs that invade the corners of his eyes. Meanwhile, Amoroso decides to find out where so much protein goes. He's followed the flight of some of the egrets and has reached the aviary. A forest of salt cedars receives a noisy colony of cattle egrets. And Amoroso, alongside them, confirms that something among them makes this flock of birds so prosperous. The birds are feeding, and the young bull makes them uncomfortable. The chicks and adults are the living summary of a secular symbiosis. For centuries, these small and hyperactive herons have been known by the local people of the fields as ox purgers, and it's clearly understood why. A giant discovers the state of well-being in a fighting camp of egrets, which respect his hooves solemnly. They obtain the perfect supplementary nutrition in order to continue to exist. Amoroso continues on his way, with another lesson learned. Although it's true, he's a little bewildered by so much clamor. Stalks, forage, chestnuts, and reeds are some of the types of feed most appreciated by the bull. Although jointed grasswort is the major delicatessen for him and other vegetarians of the South. This planet has changed its leaves into spongy reserves, where water does not evaporate. If we look closely, we'll see that aside from the cows, other horned animals also live off the jointed grasswort. Hundreds of snails and cabrillas come together at the stalks and graze in their own ways. Living in community means what's good for one is good for another. Eight months have passed since the helpless Amoroso was born. He continues to remain by his mother's side like her shadow. We could even say, without any fear of error, that the bulls are considered mama's boys throughout their youthful phase. He's close to becoming a yearling, and is happy in this ecosystem that he's more familiar with every day, and where he fits in perfectly. This young bull forms part of a herd, and he lives in a society. But he doesn't know that the time of change is near, and that man, once again, wants to make him stronger by fear. The afternoon seems to warn him, but he's only able to revive the flame of nostalgia. These are the last days that Amoroso will spend by his mother's side. This is the day of weaning, the age of majority by force. Cows and calves are separated. The landscape and the bulls are shifted around like die in the shaker of a capricious croupier. Amorosa and Amoroso do what they can, always together. The motherly instinct of a cow is possibly the most temperamental of the animal kingdom. But the one harassing him on horseback has supreme intelligence. Angry but impotent, she watches Amoroso defend himself. This is his first stressful moment. A black shadow on his multicolor existence. As he is hobbled by several men, he calls for his mother like a crying baby, and she comes. In this situation, cows are very dangerous to men. But she gives up and loses the most important game of her life. Her son doesn't belong to her anymore. Through iron and fire, Amoroso is going to enter maturity. He will no longer be a wild animal, but will be numbered by the figures that allow man to say, "This bull is mine, number 299. The bulls cry. They have the entire marsh in their eyes, and they don't understand what's going on at all. With the cattle branding iron on the back hind, the job of branding is finished. Amoroso is going to fight his own battle. He's going to take his first revenge against the fire that has caused him so much pain. This bull is afraid, but not so afraid to flee without demonstrating his bravery. One year has passed, and Amoroso now lives alone among other bulls, and almost all of them are older than him. This is a 4-year-old called Galledillo, the undisputable leader of his youth. Amoroso wants to be like him when he's older. At the moment, his body is developing harmoniously. Amoroso is gaining weight and already weighs 235 kilos. At the age of only 2, he's a very well-proportioned young animal. He now directs his steps towards a collective shadow. The fighting bull is a gregarious animal, and he forms part of the group under a holmoke. A mature holmoke is a natural monument, like the free and serene bull. Oakwood is profitable. No one who invests a little bit of his time will leave without compensation. And the bull's excrement is the best investment. It's fertilizer that brings the future, although others have to process it. Beetles are pioneers in recycling material. In Spain, alongside fighting cattle, there is an enormous variety of different species of insects, which make perfect balls for laying their eggs. A tunneling and working battalion that gives back the original conditions to the soil where the rich grass of the bull is born. Available to Amoroso and his kind are hectares and hectares of dark brown wheat, field grass, clovers, daisies, all kinds of ranch flora that make seeing and eating enjoyable. The fighting bull is a plant eater. He doesn't grow in age, but in herbs. And while he grazes, he gives the Iberian landscape the same class as the bisons give to the North American prairies and the buffaloes to the African savannas. The bull doesn't eat just any grass. The taste papillae of their tongues choose the path towards calcium, phosphorus, and proteins. His sense of smell is excellent and enables him to know if the pasture is fresh or dry. But beetles aren't the only ones to benefit from the dung of the bull. The dry excrement can be converted into the nest of some very beautiful and not very well-known birds. The collared pratincoll. They build their home on this very particular organic base and raise their chicks as well. Like hook-billed kites, we can see them just as active as their parents with just a few hours of life. The collared pratincolls are accustomed to the bulls and live between their legs. That's why sometimes a stamp can smash their eggs or baby chicks. To get away from the mass is to sight it well planted and without hesitation. This is what makes the collared pratincolls fight the great bull for their rights. They catch his attention and get him away from the nest. A task of survival that's worth ovation without reservations. The high temperatures make the herd uncomfortable, and their tongues hang out. A lake is a good place to get a drink, and this is where the little ringed plover and collared pratincoll go, like many very thirsty bulls. The pool is a world apart, an entire cosmos between reed beds and stone quarries. A big plaza of diving beetles, leaf-footed bugs, and water scorpions, delicate little bugs distressed by the quality of the water. Tadpoles and newts peacefully work together in the ecological labor of maintaining the liquid element potable for those that come around here. Even though it may be a big black shadow. An adult bull drinks 30 liters of water a day, and we don't know if that includes a little fish as an appetizer. These mosquito fish resist being sucked up into the deep mouth of a thirsty bull. It's over. The whirlwind is left to sniff out other water holes. Today, Cavador, a 2-year-old bull of strong build and uneven dark brown coat, has covered 8 kilometers, poking his nose wherever he wants. Amoroso observes and grows alongside his inseparable friends. Today, at the House of the Humans, it's a special day. Amoroso is growing up, and this party is for him, although he doesn't know it. The cowhands want to tempt him, gauge his faculties, check out what they already sense. He's a first-class young bull that will be brought to his death sooner or later. In the field of the fighting bulls, the Spanish ranchers referred to this art as running and bringing down the bull on horseback. At a gallop, the lance is the martyrdom of a herd that breaks up and leaves the bull alone before his destiny. Amoroso is not intimidated and attacks bravely like a chased tiger. He responds well, time and time again, without knowing that his examiners are enjoying this too much. They can't knock him down, but they have enough time to give him high marks. The bull defends himself the best he can. The Corredero is a section of the Mediterranean mountain where this traditional and definitive ritual is celebrated. A place where Amoroso will head without knowing that this is his death sentence. One more winter outside in the life of a bull. Time passes, leaving ice and frost on the bull kingdom. Amoroso has just celebrated his 4th birthday, and he now weighs half a ton. The beautiful image of his species must be well cared for with a conscientious session of collective hygiene. This is a rascadero, a beauty salon for the skin and horns. The bulls shave their horns with the botany of its territory once again. Cavador moves, thankfully. Mother Earth deserves it. Our bull is fearsome and is now king. A free 4-year-old arrogant bull, and one that's very attached to his land. It's been years since they've seen a female, so they manage the best they can. The herd has created unbreakable ties of friendship. They are permanently in heat and masturbate daily. Too many fighting spermatozoids. The voices of the bulls are imposing as they blow, bellow, and roar like dinosaurs about to become extinct. At this point, and with this age, they're dangerous to themselves. Although they warn by digging, fighting is presented as the only solution to get rid of accumulated tension. They seem more like lions thirsty for blood than herbivores. Amoroso has a crazy look in his eyes. He fulfills the established ritual and laterally challenges his opponent. It's a game in a society where the leaders are overthrown or ratified by the herd. A brutal game in which they all participate. Sometimes they even kill each other, and other times they seriously hurt themselves. A young bull with the desire to fight took Molinero's eye out, the father of Amoroso. The poor bull is not what he once was, remember? Most of the time, the bulls simply measure themselves against their opponent in order to kill time and heat by using their necks. This is how they spend whole days, finding out who is who in the herd. They allow themselves to be seduced by the platonic love of the legendary bull, the only love possible in their captive existence, the Lady of the Night.
Lady, 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 ay, 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 ay.
They all fear Amoroso. No creature dares to disrespect him. Not even the swiftest animals like the hares. If they run into him, they prefer to lie low. Although they say they're short-sighted, bulls are sensitive and note the smallest change in their daily routine. A tuft of jointed grasswort today pays for his temerity, and the hare doesn't stick around to watch. A year and a half after the first running and bringing down of our bull, the men come to take away Amoroso. He's a fighting bull that will move from the fields to the ring before sundown. From white to black, from the life ahead of him to the death that now awaits him. His hoofs step on his birthland for the last time, and his friends, as his mother once did, stumble out of his life. Amoroso is suffering more than ever. This is serious, and today the riders are working him harder than other times. He's strong and confident. He always has his sharp weapons before him. As the Spanish proverb says, he who gives fair warning is not a traitor. But the man pushes him into an unknown and disheartening land. Amoroso is driven towards the sea. It's the first and last time that our bull will see the ocean. He's exhausted, nervous, at his lowest. A disconcerted colossus that's going to partake in an act of extreme submissiveness. The men wait. They want him whole, ready for the fight. He goes over his life, a short existence that has only lasted 4 years. Amoroso proudly gets up again. Nostalgia is not a good resource right now, given that he's losing his liberty. He needs to fight for it, to butt with his horns if he needs to. Amoroso runs across the beach. The sea boxes him in, and the men are unforgiving. Now a long road trip, an unexpected fight against a man, a storm of points of the picador's horse, self-defense, and public death await him. Amoroso, like all the animals of his breed, is no longer considered free fauna, and this morning he will begin to be what he was bred for, without knowing it. He's a fighting bull, and he will have to be killed in the ring. This is the secret life of a fighting bull in the field. The rest of the story you already know. Amoroso was brought to fight at a first-class ring at 7:15 in the evening. He humiliated and was humiliated. He was not the star of a great fight. His ears nor his tail were not cut off after his death as a symbol of great fighting. His meat could not be eaten since he suffered from bovine spongiform encephalopathy, commonly known as mad cow disease. Thus, his body was incinerated. Amoroso was a 21st century bull that lived in the heart of nature until he was brought to the bull ring.
por mi casta ser temido, como es el toro amigo. Libre quiero ser, tan libre y noble quiero ser, fiero al desafío y por mi casta ser temido, como es el toro amigo.